Okay, hello Year 11. We are going to model for you the process of what we think you should be doing in the first 5 minutes of your English Literature Paper 1 exam on Wednesday afternoon. Okay? You will have come to that exam with lots of quotations in your head, lots of ideas, and in those first 5 minutes you have the opportunity to organise your thoughts and make sure you are answering the correct questions. Okay? You can see the information that you will have read out to you on that day on the front of the sheet. I'm not going to go through that now. You're very welcome to pause this and look at it in your own time. But the first fundamental thing that you need to do to make sure that you do not get things wrong on Wednesday is to know the two questions that you are going to be answering on. Okay? There are 13 possible questions in a paper 1 for English literature, and there are 11 that you probably will not be able to write very much about. You just ignore those. You home in on for section A. You are writing about Romeo and Juliet. It's usually found on page 5. Doesn't mean it will be on Wednesday, but usually there. Whichever page the content says it's on, get to it, please. Okay? So let's do that right now, and then we'll come on to when you look at Jekyll and Hyde. So we are still in the first minute of the exam. We're on page 5. We have found it. You've got an extract. The temptation is instantly to read the extract, and you can't help looking at it and thinking, oh, it's from this point. It will always tell you whereabouts. So at the top, read this extract from Act 1, Scene 5. Okay? And you can see for yourself that, you know, if you look at it in detail, it's the shared sonnet. It's the first words, and it even tells you above this page. At this point in the play, Romeo is speaking to Juliet for the first time. It's the shared sonnet, the 14 lines that they share. Romeo starts initiating the flirtation. Juliet responds, and the lines get short, or the length of the speech gets shorter as they move together, okay? As they grow closer together, leading ultimately to the moment of the first kiss between them. But you haven't read this yet. All you've done is looked at the question, starting with this extract, and it's always that crucial reminder that you must use the extract. The extract is your friend. Explore how Shakespeare presents different attitudes to love, okay? You need to be organising the key words of the question. Clearly, this is a question where love is the essential focus, but also the idea of it's different attitudes. What one person thinks about love could be very different, so really it's different kinds of love that are going on in here, okay? You're going to go back and look at the extract properly. That needs 5 minutes of your time. You are not doing that in the first 5 minutes. We don't recommend. We suggest this is the moment in which you offload onto the page all the quotations from the rest of the play that are percolating around your mind, that are swimming around your mind, that are giving you the opportunity to write well about love. So, for example, because I know it didn't happen in the shared sonnet, I'm thinking about, you know, off the top of my head, I'm thinking about Juliet dying. On the page, I'm going to write about Oh Happy Dagger, about that moment of joyful personification when she knows that even though she's committing suicide and it's a mortal sin, she will be reunited with Romeo in heaven or hell, depending on your viewpoint at the time, but she will be back with him. I'm then thinking Juliet is the sun, how she has changed Romeo's world, okay, and illuminated it. Before he was in darkness, artificial night, and now it's the opposite in the life it's got. I'm thinking the more sort of practical, down-to-earth advice of Benvolio, who, when Romeo was besotted with Rosaline, but she wasn't interested in him and she wouldn't open her lap to Saints Seducing Gold, he says, look, there's plenty more fish in the sea out there. Examine other beauties. Okay? You could choose a quotation about when Romeo sees her for the first time if you want Snowy Dud Trooping with Crows, which is in our top 10 quotes, or you want I never saw true beauty till this night. Those are always possible options. Okay? You could go for quotations with words in the title. So Juliet's reaction to discovering Romeo's identity, my only love, sprung from my only hate. You could look at the Friar's advice to love moderately. At their wedding, he told them, these violent delights have violent ends, therefore love moderately, and unfortunately they don't. They love with too much passion. I've now got I've now got 5 quotations on this page, and in the theory that I'm going to write 2 paragraphs based on the extract and 2 paragraphs using my quotations, I've got more than I need. But I wanted to make sure that I've got a range of quotations there. Some of them I might recycle, I might put into other paragraphs as a bonus quote or something that links to the extract. But I now have plenty of quotes from my memory. Okay? The temptation at this stage is, because we're still only technically 3 minutes into the exam or whatever at this stage, let's read the extract, let's write the Romeo and Juliet essay. What we would suggest, though, is that you firstly make sure that you don't lose track of all the quotations that are in your memory from Jekyll and Hyde. So it's worth early on just having a little look at, okay, section B, finding the Jekyll and Hyde question. Quite a few pages away. I've had to go to page 13 in last year's exam to find this, all right? But I want to make sure that I do the same thing, that I dump the quotations that I need on the page that are not from the extract. So again, I read the extract question, okay? Starting with this extract, how does Stevenson present Hyde? So already I know my character or my theme, my main focus, as an abnormal character. Somebody who is unusual, somebody who is different, okay? And I can see that this is the moment from chapter 2 when Utterson meets Hyde for the first time, all right? There are going to be lots of good quotations I could choose for calc paragraphs from here. But now that I know where that is, I should also be thinking, well, how is Hyde described at other points? This isn't the murder of Sedander's crew, for example. So our old favourite, ape-like fury, can be used. You could also throw in from the same moment the great flame of anger, that quote that links the almost like the flame of science trampling on religion. Notice I'm not even focusing on language yet. I will do so once we decide our actual quotations. I could be zooming in on the adjective ape-like or the noun flame and talking about significant things. But it's getting the quotes down while they're fresh in the mind, the ones that I think would be useful to help me. Okay. I also know that the first time that we met him, he was compared to being like some damned juggernaut. Okay, so like some violent, powerful, unstoppable god. And it's also the moment where he trampled calmly on the little girl. So we've got that oxymoron that you could come back to with the choices that you have. At the end, of course, because it's always a good idea with with a character who changes or dies, do you have a quotation about their death if it's relevant? And certainly in his case, they burst open the laboratory, chop the red baize door down with the axe, and Utterson sort of realises that he's looking upon the body of a self-destroyer, okay, somebody who has committed suicide using cyanide. So again, as with Romeo and Juliet, I now have 5 quotations, okay, that I have offloaded because I don't want to go through 50 minutes of writing about Romeo and Juliet, writing about it brilliantly, and suddenly, in concentrating so intensely, I've forgotten what it was that I'd revised about Mr. Hyde. Our advice to you is, in the first 5 minutes, to recap this, okay, you make sure that you've got the right question. Forget about whether you've ever watched Macbeth at primary school, okay, or whether you did The Tempest in year 7. You had not been studying it to the level of calc intensity that we have been using, okay? But Romeo and Juliet, you have. You work out what the extract is, you get your 5 or however many quotations from which you are going to choose the best ones. All right, this is more than a plan. This is just all the quotations you want to throw into the mix. You may not have time to write about them all, but you put them down on the page. And then you're still 3 or 4 minutes in, you find the Jekyll and Hyde question, and you give yourself the same reassurance. You check which character, what the question is, you look when it happens in the book, and then you think, right, I need something from the beginning, something from near the end. I need 4, 5, 6, however many quotations work for you to feel reassured. So that then you will be ready to go back to the Romeo and Juliet question 5 minutes in, feeling confident that you have given yourself a really good chance of writing 2 detailed 4-paragraph minimum essays on the 2 novel, or the novel and the play that we have been studying.